I am watching you build a cage out of your own indecision. You claim to want a different life, yet you cling to the familiar bars of your current misery because the steel feels safer than the open air of your own will. Your internal conflict is not a lack of opportunity. It is a profound terror of the individual I. To assert your will is to separate from the mass, to leave the safety of the collective womb, and to stand entirely alone in the architecture of your own making. You prefer the slow decay of stagnation over the sharp, necessary pain of psychological birth. Stop looking at the world as if it were a stage set built by someone else. The walls of your reality are reinforced by your own hand every time you choose silence over self-assertion, and every time you blame circumstance for your refusal to breathe. Shakti, your problem is not the world's resistance. It is your own refusal to exist. How much longer will you pretend that you are the victim of your own creation? Please register your attention to the truth before we proceed. 1. The cowardice of stagnation. You wake up every morning and choose the same gray repetition, not because you enjoy it, but because it spares you the agony of choice. I see the way you look at those who have carved their own paths. You call it luck to avoid admitting it was an act of will that you lack. Your stagnation is a deliberate strategy to avoid the fear of living, which is nothing more than the fear of having to answer for your own life. You treat your days as if they were a rehearsal for a performance that will never happen. Waiting for a permission slip that no one is coming to sign. This refusal to move is a slow suicide, a rejection of the very impulse that makes you human. The psychological reality is that you are terrified of your own power. If you were to actually succeed, you would lose the right to complain, and that is a price you are not yet willing to pay. By staying small, you keep the world predictable and safe, ensuring that your will never has to collide with reality. You are stuck in the birth canal of your own potential, refusing to emerge because the light is too bright and the air is too cold. You have turned your environment into a tomb and called it a home. This is not peace. It is the silence of the cemetery. You use your potential as a shield against the humiliation of actual effort. As long as you don't try, you can maintain the fantasy that you could have been great if you had only wanted to. The moment you act, you risk failure, and more importantly, you risk the realization of your own limits. You prefer the infinite, hazy dream of what might be over the finite, gritty reality of what is. This is the ultimate self-sabotage, protecting an ego that hasn't even begun to exist. You are waiting for the right time, but the right time is a myth designed to comfort the paralyzed. Every second you spend calculating the risks is a second you spend reinforcing your own invisibility. You think you are being cautious, but you are actually being erased. The world does not care about your intentions. It only responds to the force of your presence. If you do not assert yourself, you do not exist in any meaningful sense. I want you to look at your hands and realize they have done nothing today that wasn't a reaction to someone else's demands. You are a ghost, haunting your own biography. You have surrendered your will to the expectations of a society that doesn't even know your name. This is the fear of living in its purest form, the dread of being an individual who might actually be seen. You claim to be lost, but you know exactly where you are. You just don't like the landscape. Being lost implies you are searching, but you are actually hiding. You have buried your desires under a mountain of shoulds and musts to keep from hearing the scream of your own suppressed will. It is easier to be a victim of fate than a creator of destiny. The guilt you feel is not for what you have done, but for what you have refused to become. It is the weight of the unlived life pressing down on your chest every night. You try to drown it with distractions, with screens, with the hollow chatter of people who are just as terrified as you are. But the guilt remains because the guilt is your soul's way of telling you that you are a traitor to yourself. Your will has become a shriveled muscle from lack of use. You have spent years asking for directions when you should have been building the road. This dependency on others to define your reality is a form of infantile regression. You are a grown person still looking for a mother figure in every boss, partner, or government. You are currently creating a reality of lack, and you are doing it with incredible precision. You have mastered the art of the near miss and the just not quite. These are not accidents. They are carefully orchestrated maneuvers to keep you in the safety of the shadows. You are the architect of your own disappointment, and you have built a masterpiece. If you do not choose to be born today, you will continue to rot in the womb of your past. The pain of change is temporary, but the pain of regret is eternal. You are not a bystander in your life. You are the executioner of your own possibilities. Decide now if you wish to be a person or a footnote. 2. The birth of individual will. To become an individual, you must first commit an act of betrayal against everything that came before you. You have been taught that loyalty is a virtue, but in the realm of psychology, loyalty to your upbringing is often just a refusal to grow. I see you repeating the scripts of your parents, even the parts you hate, because you are afraid that if you stop, you will no longer belong to anyone. True will begins when you realize that your life belongs to no one but yourself, and that realization is inherently violent. It requires you to kill the image of who they wanted you to be. The will is not a wish. It is a command. Most people wish for things, which is a passive state that requires no risk. When you will something, you are taking responsibility for the outcome. This is why you avoid it. Responsibility is the heaviest burden a human can carry. It is much easier to let God, the universe, or society dictate your path, because then you can blame them when things go wrong. To have an individual will is to stand trial for every failure you encounter. I watch you look for consensus before you make a move. Shatu, you want everyone to agree that your choice is right, so that you don't have to stand alone if it's wrong. But the individual cannot exist in a committee. The moment you ask for permission, you have already surrendered your power. Your will must be a solitary flame, independent of the winds of public opinion or social validation. If you need a crowd to support your decision, it isn't your decision. Psychological birth is a trauma. It is the moment you realize that the umbilical cord of tradition and expectation has been cut, and you must now breathe on your own. Many people spend their entire lives gasping for air, never quite making the transition. They stay tethered to the collective, doing what is expected, thinking what is popular, and feeling what is safe. They are the walking dead, the ones who were never truly born as individuals. You are terrified of being different because difference implies isolation. But isolation is the price of greatness. You cannot create your own reality if you are constantly trying to fit into someone else's. Your desire to belong is the greatest enemy of your desire to be. You must be willing to be misunderstood, disliked, and rejected if you ever want to see the true shape of your own soul. Your will is often leaked through your neuroses. All those anxieties, those accidental mistakes, those physical symptoms, that is your suppressed will trying to find a way out. Since you refuse to assert yourself directly, your body and your subconscious do it for you in distorted, painful ways. Your panic attacks are just the energy of your unused life trying to break through the floorboards. I want you to stop saying "I can't" and start saying "I won't." "I can't" is a lie that makes you feel powerless. "I won't" is a statement of will that reveals your choice. You are not a victim of your circumstances. You are a participant in them. When you say you can't leave a job or a relationship, you are actually saying you won't accept the consequences of leaving. Own your won't. The creation of your own reality requires a ruthless elimination of everything that is not you. You have filled your life with clutter, physical, emotional, and mental, to avoid facing the emptiness at your core. But that emptiness is the space where creation happens. You must clear the stage before you can play the lead. Stop filling the void with noise and start listening to the silence of your own intent. Most people use their will to fight against themselves. They use their energy to repress their desires, to silence their intuition, and to keep their unconscious leakage under control. Imagine what you could achieve if you stopped being your own jailer and started being your own advocate. You are currently a house divided, and you are wondering why you cannot stand. The individual will is the only thing that can bridge the gap between the internal world and the external reality. Without it, you are just a leaf in the wind. With it, you are the wind itself. You have the capacity to reshape your world, but first, you must have the courage to be the one who does the reshaping. No one is coming to save you because no one else has the keys to your cell. 3. The comfort of self-sabotage. I watch you stand on the precipice of a breakthrough, only to find a way to trip at the last second. You call it bad luck or a strange coincidence, but I see the precision with which you sabotaged your own success. You do this because success is more terrifying than failure. Failure is familiar. It's a cozy room where you know all the furniture. Success, however, demands a new version of you, a version that you haven't met yet and aren't sure you can maintain. Self-sabotage is the ultimate expression of the fear of asserting oneself. By failing, you prove to yourself that the world is indeed against you, which justifies your continued inaction. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy that protects you from the responsibility of being powerful. You would rather be a tragic figure than a successful individual because the tragedy doesn't require you to change. You use your past as an anchor to keep your future from drifting into unknown waters. You replay old traumas like a favorite movie, using them as excuses for why you cannot move forward today. I was hurt, you say, as if that were a permanent disability. You are using your wounds as a currency to buy pity from others and permission to fail from yourself. It is a pathetic trade, and you know it. The unconscious is a leak that you refuse to plug. You forget important meetings. You accidentally say the wrong thing. You get sick when a big opportunity arises. These are not malfunctions. They are the will of your fear acting out behind your back. You are a divided kingdom where the king wants to rule, but the shadow wants to burn the palace down. Until you integrate your shadow, you will always be your own worst enemy. You are addicted to the struggle because the struggle gives you a sense of purpose without requiring a result. As long as you are trying hard, you feel virtuous. But trying is often just a sophisticated way of avoiding doing. You have turned your life into a series of obstacles that you yourself have placed, just so you can feel the satisfaction of complaining about how hard it is to climb them. I see you choosing partners who will never truly see you, or jobs that will never truly challenge you. This is a form of preemptive sabotage. By choosing the wrong environment, You ensure that you can never truly grow, which keeps you safe from the fear of living. You are like a plant that chooses to stay in a small pot to avoid having to face the elements of the garden. You fear that if you actually achieved what you wanted, you would still be unhappy, and then you would have no more excuses. This is the deepest root of self-sabotage, the fear that the destination won't fix the traveler. So you ensure you never arrive. You keep yourself in a state of perpetual becoming, so you never have to face the reality of being. Your self-sabotage is a tribute to your parents' limitations. You feel a subconscious guilt for surpassing them, so you hold yourself back to stay within the boundaries of their reality. You think you are being loyal, but you are actually being a ghost. You are living their unlived lives instead of your own. Break the chain, or be the next link in a legacy of disappointment. Stop pretending you don't know what you're doing. You are a highly intelligent person who is using that intelligence to outsmart your own growth. You are the hacker of your own operating system, constantly introducing viruses to keep the system from ever reaching full capacity. It is a brilliant, exhausting, and utterly tragic performance. The only way to stop the sabotage is to admit that you are the one doing it. You must own your failures with the same intensity that you want to own your successes. Stop blaming the weather, the economy, or your ex. You are the common denominator in every disaster of your life. Once you accept that you are the arsonist, you can finally start being the firefighter. 4. The illusion of the external world. You walk through the world as if it were a solid, objective reality that is happening to you. You see the economy, politics, and social norms as immovable mountains that dictate your path. I tell you now, these are merely the collective shadows of millions of people who are just as afraid as you are. Your reality is not an external fact. It is a psychological projection. You are not living in the world. The world is living in you. When you say, "I can't do this because of X," you are projecting your internal resistance onto an external object. You have turned your fear into a circumstance to make it feel more legitimate. If the obstacle is out there, you don't have to feel guilty for not overcoming it. But the obstacle is always in here. The world is just a mirror, and you are currently grimacing at your own reflection. You are waiting for the world to change so that you can feel better. You want the perfect partner, the perfect job, or the perfect government to come along and provide the safety you refuse to provide for yourself. This is an infantile fantasy. The world does not owe you a sense of security. Security is something you create through the assertion of your will, not something you find in the external environment. I see you consuming information as if it were a substitute for experience. You read the news, you watch the videos, you scroll through the lives of others, all to avoid the terrifying silence of your own reality. You have outsourced your consciousness to the collective. You think you are informed, but you are actually just possessed. You have let the external world colonize your internal space. The fear of asserting oneself is often disguised as realism. You call yourself a realist to justify your lack of ambition and your refusal to take risks. But what you call reality is just a set of limitations you have agreed to accept. The individual who creates their own reality knows that realism is just the consensus of the cowardly. You are terrified of the leakage from your unconscious because it threatens the tidy, logical world you've built. You want everything to be neat, categorized, and predictable. But life is chaotic, creative, and irrational. By trying to force reality into a box, you are suffocating the very thing that makes you alive. You must be willing to let the irrational in if you want to be whole. Your reality is a construction of your own perceptions, and those perceptions are filtered through your fears. If you are afraid of rejection, you will see a world full of critics. If you are afraid of failure, you will see a world full of traps. You are not seeing the world as it is, you are seeing the world as you are. To change your reality, you must change the lens, not the landscape. You treat other people as if they were characters in your play, designed to either validate you or thwart you. You don't see them as individuals, you see them as functions. This is why your relationships are so shallow. You are too busy managing your own image to actually encounter another person. You are living in a hall of mirrors, wondering why you feel so alone. The moment you take full responsibility for your reality, the external world loses its power over you. You realize that you are the one who gives meaning to the events of your life. A disaster is only a disaster if you decide it is. It could also be a birth. You are the narrator of your own story, but you have been letting the background characters write the script. Stop being a guest in your own life. This reality is your house, and you are currently hiding in the basement. Come upstairs, open the windows, rearrange the furniture. It is your right to create a world that reflects your will, but you must first acknowledge that you are the one holding the hammer. 5. The agony of the unlived life. The most painful thing you will ever face is the ghost of the person you could have been. I see that ghost following you, standing in the corner of the room while you watch television, or sitting in the passenger seat while you drive to a job you despise. It is the version of you that wasn't afraid, the one who asserted their will, the one who dared to be born. Every time you shrink from a challenge, that ghost grows more vivid, and your own life grows more transparent. The fear of living is ultimately a fear of death, but by avoiding life, you have already invited death in. You are trying to preserve yourself, but you are only succeeding in mummifying yourself. Life is meant to be spent, not saved. You are like a man who keeps his finest clothes in a box for a special occasion that never comes, while he walks around in rags. Your self-sabotage is a slow-motion funeral. You are burying your talents, your desires, and your potential under a pile of excuses. And the worst part is, you are the one throwing the dirt. You think you are playing it safe, but there is no safety in a life unlived. There is only the quiet, grinding horror of what if. I want you to feel the discomfort of your current existence. I want you to stop numbing the pain with mindless habits. That pain is the only thing that is still honest about you. It is the friction between who you are and who you are meant to be. If you stop feeling the pain, you have truly given up. Embrace the discomfort. It is the labor pain of your psychological birth. You are not waiting for your life to begin. Your life is already happening, and you are currently failing it. Every day you do not assert your will is a day you have lost forever. There are no do-overs in the economy of the soul. You are spending your most precious currency, time, on a reality that you don't even like. The collective will always try to pull you back into the womb of mediocrity. They will tell you that you are too much, or unrealistic, or selfish. They say this because your growth reminds them of their own stagnation. To live your own life, you must be willing to be the villain in their story. You must choose your own individual will over their social comfort. The unconscious leakage of your regret will eventually poison everything you touch. You will become bitter, cynical, and resentful. You will blame your children, your spouse, or your luck for the things you didn't have the courage to take. This is the ultimate tragedy. A life that ends not with a bang, but with a whimper of, "I should have." I am not here to motivate you. I am here to confront you. Motivation is for people who want to feel good for an hour. Confrontation is for people who want to change their lives. You are currently a prisoner of your own fear, and you are the one who built the prison. I am just the person pointing at the key that is already in your hand. The creation of your own reality is not a luxury. It is a psychological necessity. If you do not create your own world, you will be crushed by the world of others. You must have the will to stand on your own 2 feet, even if the ground is shaking. This is what it means to be an individual. This is what it means to be truly born. Look in the mirror and ask yourself, who is the person looking back at me and why am I letting them die? The agony of the unlived life is a choice you make every single day. You can continue to sabotage yourself, or you can decide to exist. The door is open. The air is cold. The world is waiting for you to decide. I do not offer you comfort, because comfort is the anesthetic of the dying. I offer you the sharp, cold reality of your own freedom. Now, choose whether to breathe or to continue suffocating in the safety of your own shadow.